So the first question is, please describe one or two qualities that you would bring to this position.
Okay, sure. So I think for this position, there are a couple things that really make me well suited to it. I know in the job description it said that they were looking for someone who is very enthusiastic, and I think that's definitely something that I would bring to the table. I really am passionate about student affairs, and interacting with students, and this job has so much like hands-on, so many hands-on like aspects to it. So I definitely think that my enthusiasm and love of working with students would be a huge benefit to this job. And also, I'm very details oriented. Right now, I work in our Office of Event Services as a graduate assistant, and also as an intern helping to plan commencement. So a lot of that has to do with managing the details of like events from like the very beginning to like booking them, finding a space, making sure, do you have enough tables? Do you have enough chairs? Do you need a microphone? As well as with commencement, there are so many parts to it, flowers, photography, like so many little things. And I think that I manage that pretty well. I try to stay organized. I love some sticky notes. So I think that, yeah, me being detail oriented as well would definitely help with this position.
Thank you. What are your strongest leadership qualities? Or leadership skills, sorry.
Strongest leadership skill. Hmm. I think one of my strongest leadership skills is my ability to let people do, like, give direction, but then let people take it where they want to take it, or give them a little bit of freedom to do it. I think kind of my leadership style is very much like give direction and be supportive, but then also step back and let people take their own initiative with it. And because I really think that for that, that helps, people grow themselves as leaders. For example, right now I supervise a staff of 15 students, who sometimes need a little bit of direction and sometimes can do it on tasks on their own. So what I try to do is give them a task, for example, like go like interact with this client and ask them what they need, or go set this room this way, and let them do it, and then check in on them and say, how are you doing? If at that point, if I see that they need some help, maybe then step in and say, well, have you thought about doing it this way? Or, maybe this might be a little bit better. And then like, or if they're doing well, say, oh, great job, keep up with the good work. So I think that that ability to, well, as we say in student affairs, challenge and support is one of my strongest leadership skills.
Excellent, thanks. What approaches might your supervisor use while working with you that would bring out the best in you?
I think I like to be given very clear direction. So given a specific task, but then again, actually, as my leadership style is, I also like to be supervised in that way. So I like to be given very clear direction, but then given the freedom to do what I would like, what I feel is best with that. I like to be in contact with my supervisor, and ask questions like if I need clarification on something. I've been very lucky that the supervisor that I have been very available to me and very open to, like, if I have a question, answering it, or if I'm not sure about how I should go about doing a task, asking them for feedback, or like I said, any clarification. Um, for example, I think, when has this happened to me recently? Well, with commencement right now, my supervisor, it's actually both of our first times doing this, so it's nice because we're both kind of learning at the same time. But she's very helpful if I say, well, you gave me this task to like make a timeline for commencement, but like, how specific do you want this to be? And I'll show her what I have, and she'll say, oh, this is great, or maybe be a little bit more specific, a little less specific, and then I will do that accordingly.
What was the most useful criticism that you've ever received?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, hmm. I think so. At Canisius, I was an undergrad here, and then I transitioned into a graduate assistant role, which was a little bit, it was definitely challenging, because I still had friends who were here, who were still undergrads. So I think I had someone tell me, maybe you should try to separate yourself a little bit more from the undergrad students, and act more as a professional. And that was definitely, it was something because it was, I think it's hard to see it in yourself because for you, it's like, or for me, it was, oh, I'm just interacting, with my friends, but saying, well, there's a time to be friends with them, and then there's a time that you have to be a professional. And that really, definitely over the past year and a half, was probably one of the most challenging parts of my job, but also the most rewarding to watch or myself like grow as a professional and transition out of just being an undergrad. And now, in that last part of my graduate career, transitioning again into a new professional.
Hmm. Great, thanks. Um, Please describe the ways in which you've demonstrated to students that you are available to them.
Um, so I am an academic mentor here. So as a mentor, I have five students who I meet with on a weekly or biweekly basis. So for them, like I usually email them, when I don't see them, check in, ask them how their assignments are going. When I do meet with them, I try to be very like open, not have any other distractions around me. Close the door, let everyone else in the office know, like, hey, I have a meeting right now with a student, and really make them feel like they at that moment are the most important person in the room to me. Um, and then I think also just like offering any help, or if I personally can't help a student, letting them know, like, hey, I can find you this resource, like, the Career Center has this, and this for you. Or have you thought about going to the counseling center and talking to someone there about this if it's something that I don't have the skill set to help them with? And I think also just being like very open and being very friendly, and not just saying, not just meeting with them and then like if I see them in the hall ignoring them, but like saying hi, how are you? Like if I see them at a hockey game, like asking them how their weekend is going, and just being like a constant presence in their lives.
Hmm. Okay, thanks. Uh, how do you handle the stress that comes when you need to juggle multiple tasks and still meet deadlines?
I work pretty well under stress. I like having multiple things going on because I find that that helps me organize my time a little bit better. I try to make like a schedule for myself. So I'm very into like my Google Calendar. I have a notebook that I carry around with a to-do list, and just like making sure I budget my time correctly and prioritizing which tasks should come first and which tasks maybe need to be done a little bit later. Definitely, it seems like my grad assistantship and my homework usually get prioritized over like laundry. um, but I think, and also just like especially for the events part of my job, since that is so, a lot of those events are campus-wide things, you have to, for me, I prioritize, well, doing this is going to affect like the entire campus community versus something else that I may have to do that maybe is for like a smaller group of people, and just but still making sure that everything gets done well.
Hmm. Okay. What are your long-term professional goals?
Well, I would like to graduate in May. And
Yay.
then I think I'm definitely interested in like orientation, student activities, which is why I think this position is great because it has like the advising side of orientation, but also working with first year students like throughout their first year. And I think eventually I would like to get a terminal degree, like maybe an EDD, and be more on the administrative side of things. Again, like that's a little bit farther down the line. But I definitely see myself continuing in student affairs for the duration of my professional career.
Great. And then the last question, what kind of questions do you have for me?
Um, hmm. I think so. The University of New Haven, they talk a lot, or you talk a lot of in your mission statement about discovery-based learning, like an experiential learning. And I wonder how you see this position tying into that part of experiential and discovery, experiential learning and discovery.